can you talk about the proper structure to be able to create, because there are tax advantages,
Yes.
there's so write-offs, there's so many things, protection, liability, all these things that come with more money, more problems, like Big said, right? And so you want to be able to protect yourself. So talk to us about like the proper way to structure your properties in order to make sure that you maximize taxes, maximize all the benefits that comes with it.
Here's the big picture. See, every time we go in this room, that's when I light up, right? Because real estate is like, I can talk about real estate all day.
Yeah.
But am I helping you create wealth? No, I'm not.
Yeah.
So when somebody says, buy your house, man, create generational wealth.
Yeah.
Like, bro, no, you're deceiving people.
Yeah, it's deep.
Buying one house does not create generational wealth for you. No. It's a gateway to start doing things the right way to eventually go into legacy wealth building, right? So now what you do is you buy your property. How you going to set this thing up the right way? We all know you do LLCs. You get your LLC. You put your house in an LLC. But now you're getting rent. People paying you rent in your name. Property management company paying you rent. Everything is coming in your name. You're not taking advantage of taxes the right way. Now, what I do is I have a structure that I put together, and I tell a lot of people about it, and they go, I've been doing this for 30 years, bro. Never knew about it.
Yeah.
I call it the 3 must-have LLCs. One LLC is your acquisition. When you first get an LLC from doing commercial lending, your LLC, you buying that property, you're acquiring a property, that LLC is now your acquisition. The reason why you want to continuously have an LLC instead of getting so many different LLCs, you want that one LLC to start building up credit, like history credit, like your personal credit. Now that LLC is building power. My acquisition LLC, easily I get $2 million, $3 million, $4 million worth of loans because I have over 30, 40 other loans in there showing that I'm paying these loans on time. My credit history is strong. Instead of me saying, you know what, I got another property, let me get another LLC. Let me get another LLC.
And that's why that's so good because that's the information that's out there, right? I mean, logically though, not even the information that's out there. That's why it blew my mind when I first heard it, because logically, I know LLC, limited liability company. I want to, limit my liability. So if I buy 123 Main Street, I'm gonna open an LLC in 123 Main Street. Once I buy 456, Harlem Lane, then I'm gonna get a LLC for 456 Harlem Lane. I get 678, Maryland, and then that's gonna be that property as well. And then now I got all these 3 properties, and I'm protected because each of them have their own LLC. But now, if I want to get a loan, I only have that one property. If I cannot leverage them each differently because now they're all separate. But you're saying you can open an acquisition LLC, so every time you acquire property, you acquire them under the acquisition LLC to build credit, and then now you can, that's good.
Yeah,
That's good.
It makes total sense here. Think about it. Your personal credit, when you're buying things, your personal credit keeps going up. You're building up your credit history. So you're doing that same thing with this one acquisition that you're buying, right? But now it's like, okay, well, if I keep buying all of these properties in this one LLC, I'm not supposed to have all properties under one LLC. So now what do? That's when you have a holding LLC. That's the second LLC. Your holding LLC will now hold the property and you're going to release it from the acquisition LLC. So now you have a holding LLC holding these properties. But you're not going to hold them all individually. What you're going to do is you're going to have 123 Main Street. 123 Main Street acquisition is bought. Now 123 Main Street, now you use the address to have a separate LLC, and the owner of that LLC is your holding LLC. So now the reason why you're freeing it up from your acquisition, because you don't want your acquisition to be responsible for any liabilities on the property. So if the property now, let's say it gets sued, something happens. If it's on the acquisition still, now you're tarnishing the reputation of the acquisition. So now you're freeing it up so the acquisition could always remain strong and clear. So now the holding LLC are now holding all of these LLCs, right? Still separately is just the owner is the holding LLC. That's that one. But now you go, okay, now I got the tenants paying me rent, property managers pay me rent. Cool, let me put them in a bank account. What bank account? Not in yours. You need a property management LLC. Property management LLC, what is that going to do? That's going to collect your rent. The key things is separating your personal business and your money. Your rents are coming in the LLC. That should be that should not be the same LLC that the house is in. Because if something happened, the first thing they do, freeze the account. Okay, the account is attached to a house. Your assets are frozen.
Wow.
That's why you have a property management company, LLC. Your tenants will be paying your property management LLC, which is separate from your holdings LLC, which holds the house. So think about it. Here's the house, my rent. It's not going here. It's going to this one. This is a separate entity collecting all this money for your taxes. And that needs to be in your home state. Why? Because you're filing taxes for that one. So people go, well, you have these 3 LLCs. Which one needs an EIN? Only the property management company. So now, when it's time to do your taxes, which state should it be in? You could choose an anonymity state, right? But an anonymity state, anonymity is, it allows you, anonymity is Wyoming, Delaware, New Mexico, and Nevada. These allow you to now conduct business without being known, being anonymous, right? So now, when you're hiding yourself, you're doing this for the holding LLC. And why is this so important? Because people say, you know, my property is in an LLC, so it's protected. Anything's happened, I'm good. I ain't got to worry about it. Yeah, you are. But now look at this. Say if I want to sue, I say, okay, I'm suing Ash. Hey, here's his 123 Main Street LLC. I want to sue it. Oh man, I can't. But you know what? I want to look up who owns the LLC. Oh, Ash owns the LLC. I want a civil suit on Ash. That happens all the time. I tell people, Google that. Yes. You can Google who owns the LLC, and now you can still sue him, civil suit.
Wow.
So now how do you stop that from happening? Which happens all the time. Anonymity state. Ash doesn't own it. His LLC in the anonymity state owns the LLC. So now if they look up 123 Main Street, they don't see Ash no more. They see that LLC in that state, and that state doesn't allow you to know the owner. So now you're protected. Fully protected. It's the power of having this structure. And now let's talk about the tax benefits. Property management company collecting taxes. So what you're gonna do now? You're gonna have a home office. You have a home office in New York. You write off up to 30% of your mortgage or rent. 30%.
Wow.
So now if your mortgage is $1,000 a month, that's $12,000. So now you're writing off 30% of that. So you're writing off $3,600 of your mortgage. Now you're writing off 30% of the light, gas, heating, cell phone, car, mileage. Mileage. So these are all things you're not able to write off that you can't write off in your own name. If you have the property management structure set up, now think of all these things. You're writing off so many benefits, but if it's in your name, your property management company, now when they have a repair or anything, it's coming into your name, right? How you gonna write that off? But if your property management company gave you a bill in the name of your LLC, now you're writing that off as a business write-off. All those trips you take, everything you go to Home Depot, you're renting all them power tools and all this stuff that's sitting in the basement, tool rental, you can't write that off under Ash. But guess what? Your LLC can. My tax structure, I'm writing off easily no less than $10,000 and upwards to $17,000 a year. Taxes pay me, I don't pay taxes, and I'm doing it legally. Why are we afraid to adjust our taxes accordingly when we see the wealthy do it all the time and we complain and go, why is he getting away with it? You know why? Because you're not taking advantage of it. People who provide housing and jobs get the best tax benefits.
Love it, love it. And then so now, because you mentioned generational wealth, right? Actually, before we even go there, because I did have a clarifying question about the property management LLC. Is it now, right? Your holding company has, each property you have. Let's say I got 30 properties. Each property has a holding LLC. Do I have one property management LLC for all 30 properties, or do I have 30 property management LLCs for each property that I have?
Good question. Good question. You have one property management company collecting all the rents, whether that be from your current tenants paying you rent, and they will no longer pay you rent in your name. You will give them a new lease under the name of the property management company. And the property management company who's paying you rent for your out-of-state properties, they will be paying you rent in the name of your property management company. This is where the tax implications are great. And the reason why, because if you have a property in Chicago and you live in Atlanta and you have a bank account for that LLC in Chicago, you're collecting rent in that property in Chicago, you now have to pay taxes in Illinois. See, but when you collecting the rent in the property management company in your home state, the only thing you pay is a business privilege tax, which is around $200-300. You're not paying taxes in each one of these states. I'm in 7 states. Imagine me paying taxes in all of these states. I don't. I pay a business privilege tax. $200, $250 per state. And now I'm writing off all of these things, bro. Even when I fly and go to these places, me flying here now is a business write-off. But if I was to fly here out of my own dime, okay, now I got to eat that or find some way to write it off. And now I got to make sure it makes sense. But no, if I have properties here, I'm coming here to do business. We have to learn to do our business better, bro. And how do we expect to transfer wealth? We could go into that whenever you're ready. Transfer wealth the right way if you don't set your business up the right way. Like I said, real estate is a 15-minute conversation. Setting your real estate up the right way is another 15-minute conversation. But how are you doing this to transfer the wealth? That's a lifetime conversation that we need to have to do it properly.
And let's talk about that, right? Because generational wealth, I mean, we hear all the time. Everybody's talking generational wealth, break generational curses, all that stuff. But a lot of people don't, like you said, don't fully understand what it really means, how to really do it. Walk us through, what does generational wealth mean to you, and how have you created structures specifically with real estate, but just in general, to help create generational wealth?
I look at it like this, like I said, the introductory for me to people was real estate. But I knew I always had a bigger agenda. Always had a hidden agenda. My hidden agenda was to teach you how to set up real estate. And the ultimate goal is for me to get you to understand the power of a living trust, right? So when I started doing Instagram and I started talking about real estate and out-of-state investing, never seeing my properties, and cats were like, yo, this guy here, he got properties, he never seen them. Now, cool, now I got your ear, right? So now I'm talking about 3 must-have LLCs, my structure, and they're like, yo, this dude got the crazy structure and it works. So now I got you more reeled in. But then when I did this video called Take Your House Out of Your Name, and that was the first video that actually went like fire, right? And even you posted.
No, I did that video did like 40,000 views on my platform. Like
one day, bro, that video went up. My reaction, you know what they call my interaction or something like that, engagement, Twitter, Facebook. Cats are like, wait, hold up, take your house out of your name. Why? What is he talking about? Purpose of taking your house out your name is when I took my primary residence out of my name and put it in a living trust. And the reason I did that, my trust attorney made it clear, is like, look, you want to be able to take your house out of your name because you want to hand it down to your generations. You want to take it out for protection because if someone falls or whatever the case may be, you're held liable. You can't take your primary residence, put in an LLC. You can't, but you put it in a trust. And now what that trust does, it's more powerful than a will. We must learn to get away from the structure of a will. The will ends up in probate court. You end up paying money to the probate court and someone can contest your will. James Brown had one of his ex-wives or something come forward and say they were still married. His will was held up in probate court for about 14 years.
Wow. Which means after he died, no one got nothing for 14 years because someone contested the will. Right.
How crazy is that, right? Crazy, But with a trust is a document that doesn't get filed in court. So once a trust is created, now that trust must be held accountable. Well, it must be followed to the letter once you pass away, right? So now I take my house out my name, I put it in a living trust, I set it up for my family to get it, breaking it up this and that, and then I'm going, wait a minute. So now this house isn't in my name. Can I become the property manager of my trust? I mean, the property manager of my local residence. I have a home office. This is my place of business. Contact my accountant. My accountant said, yeah, you can manage this property. I said, no, you didn't just tell me that. So that's how your mind start working different when you think about business. So now I became the property manager of my primary residence because I had the home office. So now I'm making money off my property. So I set up the home office. I did all the things that I'm telling everybody you can do with this primary residence. Getting all these write-offs. So then I go, all right, wait a minute. So now with this, here's other game that I added with that video. The other game I added was, wait a minute, now you mean you can hire your kids to work for your LLC, and now instead of giving your kids an allowance, I could give them a salary. I did a video about that. Don't give your kids an allowance, give them a salary. You can give them, I think in New York it's like $11,000, up to $11,000, paying them in an LLC. And how's that beneficial for you? Because now if you do taxes for $50,000, you minus that 11, you only being taxed for $39,000. So now your kids get $11,000. So now what do you do with that? You have them open up an IRA. Now they open up an IRA in their name. You let them take about maybe $100 a week, put into their IRA until they turn, let's say 4 years consecutively. Do it $100 a week, $100 a week, and they stop. When your kids are ready to retire, they get around 60, they gotta have over $1 million.
Wow.
$1 million that can't be taxed because they opened it up when they was a minor. When they opened it up as a minor. So now let's get into the legacy wealth part that we talk about. So once I understood the schematics of how important a living trust was, I said, okay, how do I make this thing work for generations?
Yeah.
For generations. 'Cause I had so many people talk about generational wealth, and I said, yeah, you're talking about it, but you're not showing it. Yeah. So what I did was, snowy day in New York. I said, let me look at someone who actually created generational wealth. Yeah. I said, who done this? Rockefeller. We always say about the Rockefeller family, Rockefeller Trust, his trust from 1934. Yeah. So I go look it up, I'm reading this thing, figuring out the whole thing, and I'm going, yo, this is genius. What he did was, what you do, you take your asset, you place your asset in a fund. For example, let's say you have a $1 million house, right? Or let's say you have a $500,000 house, because I want to give people a play here. A play that makes sense within our pockets. You have a house, $500,000 home, got a mortgage on it. People always say, yo, I want to make sure I pay my house off. I say, why are you worrying about paying your house off, putting that extra money into the house when you could take those payments to actually invest? How about you get a life insurance policy for about $100 a month? That's like $1 million. $200 a month, $1 million. The $500,000 is gonna cover your home. So now you got $500,000 left. So now you pass away, $500,000 pays off the house. Your family is straight, they own the house. The other $500,000 goes into an investment account, SP 500. This is how the structure is broken down. SP 500, going in there for your grandkids. You say, oh, okay, how is this structure gonna help? Your grandkids are not gonna get their money till they turn 21. So you take $500,000, SP making about 8% interest. 21 years, 500,000, 21 years, equates to around $2.4 million your grandkids are gonna get. 2.4 million, but you don't give your grandkids 2.4 million. What you do, you give them half. Give them 1.2. Now you're leaving the other 1.2 for your great grandkids. Great grandkids, 1.2 in the same SP, 8% interest, another 21 years. 1.2 million, 21 years for your great grandkids. That's $6 million about. $6 million, your great grandkids. Your great grandkids, they only gonna get half of that. That's $3 million. Now you're leaving $3 million in that fund for your great grandkids. 3 million, 21 years, 8% interest, compound interest. Dude, that's $15 million your great grandkids are gonna get. That's a structure from Rockefeller, 1934. We can do the same thing. When people tell me, I don't have that kind of bread, you know what you do? The air you breathe is worth money. It's a life insurance policy. Get you a $500,000 life insurance policy. Open up a trust. Take that life insurance policy. Place the life insurance policy in the name of the trust, not in the individual. You don't have a beneficiary, because when it's in the trust isn't a living person. So you don't need a beneficiary. But if it's in your name, you need a beneficiary. Now, what if you leave your life insurance policy to someone and go, I want to make sure my grandkids get it. And they go, man, he dead. I'm spending that bread. That's why it's important to do that structure.
But what about, you create this trust, right? Because this is a lot of game. I hope y'all taking notes. I hope y'all rewinding it. I hope y'all picking up what he's putting down. And so now somebody does that. They create the trust. Once, whoever created the trust passes away, somebody who's now controlling the trust says, you know what? Now I want to change this up. Can they do that?
No, they can't do that. the key important part about this is the trustee, right? The trustee has to dictate the rules. You dictate what happens in the trust, but the trustee follow the rules. So important to have the right trustee, right? Now people would say, oh, well, you know what? If this much money goes into the trust, like you just mentioned, the trustee is responsible for that. Yeah, but the trustee only has control of what's being said in the trust. So once you put $1 million, let's say, or $500,000 into your trust, and you place this in there, 100% must go to everybody in the trust. Right. Let me break that down. If your spouse and your kids is in there, they get $500,000 of what you put in there. That's all of it. But the stipulation says they only could get 30% of the $500,000. It's your trustee job to only give them 30%.
Got it.
They can't get everything. And now the trustee dictates the rest of the plan where this goes into there. Yeah. Right? But when putting the house in your name, which I'm gonna jump to, you're the trustee.
Yeah.
But when you die, you must have another trustee in place. And as you pass away, that trustee is always another trustee behind that to follow the rules to the letter.
Yeah.
And what makes the trust even more powerful, imagine if every child you have was to open up a trust for their children.
Wow.
Now each child is getting paid a trust twice. The next generation 3 times. This is how the trust works out. And this is something we can do. This isn't new. Real estate, we're getting in on the tail end of this. What are you doing with the cash flow? Like we have to move to that next phase of educating ourselves to do the next powerful thing. We're in this game now thinking, oh, you are doing a good thing in real estate. But are you really doing something that's going to really impact the next generations down if you're into legacy wealth building? That one property's not gonna do it. It's these things like the crypto, the NFT, learning about the conversations about the metaverse, understanding money won't be money the way it is anymore. Me and you talk about $5 million. I'd be like, yo, my man, he came over, he brought $5 million. You thinking $5 million in the bag. But if I say, yo, my man came over and showed me $5 million, a younger person is gonna go, he showed me $5 million on his phone. He's showing you digitally $5 million. That's why they're gonna be more powerful investors than us. Because they can transfer money and won't even think twice about it. Yeah, I just sent them $1 million to invest. You say I'm sending somebody $1 million, you be like, yo, I gotta meet him, bro. I don't know him like that.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? It's the power of investment, man.
Right.